well as Equity Bank Limited. These were not the only participants. We also had Bank of Baroda, Uganda, trade about 66 shares on the third day of trading and closing the day with a 85.0 shillings closing price, which was not any different from the price with which they began the day. MTN Uganda was another participant who had about 293,254 shares that were transacted for the fourth day of trading, and this was the biggest volume for the day. MTN is intensifying activity as we close into the, of course, we come closer to the festive season. We understand there's so many, festive season, kind of facilitations and different, promotions that different telecommunications companies come up with for people to keep in touch, especially during the festive season. This could, of course, spark different, this could spark different earnings for the fourth quarter on the telecommunications companies, and so that could definitely come in as a yield, and maybe this could be the reason we are seeing more activity at MTN Uganda. There were rumors before that there could be another listing of another telecommunications company in Uganda, though that hasn't come to fruition. But we wait on maybe at the end of the year, like we had last year, MTN come on board. We could have another telecommunications company to come and put a little bit of competition as well in the sector on the exchange. But MTN Uganda is the youngest stock, I can say, on the Uganda Securities Exchange, with also coming on board with an electronic IPO, where of course we were able to buy shares by using our phones for the very first time. It was something that we had never seen here in East Africa. And so MTN Uganda did that so well. And so many people for the first time also got to understand what really a share meant, what it meant to possess a share in a company. And MTN still was driving that together with Standard Bank Group Securities, who are their stockbrokers for their initial public offer. Now, the company has a total market value of 4.03 Ugandan trillion shillings, and currently this represents about 19.1% of the entire Uganda Stock Exchange, which brings the company in the second best or second most valuable position on the Uganda Stock Exchange. Remember, Equity Bank with 5.2 trillion is the most valuable, and MTN comes close to that at a 4.03 trillion Uganda shillings market capitalization on the exchange. Yesterday, the company closed the day with 180.00 Ugandan shillings, the closing price for the day, and there was a volume of 293,254 shares that were transacted on the company, bringing their market capitalization, rather market turnover, to over 52.8 trillion, 52.8 million shillings rather, put on the Uganda Stock Exchange. Currently, they have about 22.4 billion outstanding shares, and this brings their market capitalization to 4 trillion shillings. And in terms of 1 week and 4 week performance, the company hasn't done so well, but we are seeing slight kinds of regaining resilience, and big volumes being traded here and there, but still there has still been a little slightly decline in performance. And currently we are seeing that in their year to date they have lost over 7.69% of their initial price at the beginning of the year, which was 194.99 Ugandan shillings on the 1st of January. This puts them in the 6th position in year-to-date performance, which is not a bad position. But for a company like MTN Uganda, we can absolutely do better, and we hope for better in the coming quarter as well as in the new year 2022. And of course, as we open up the country fully from the COVID-19 pandemic, we definitely expect more gains on the company. In terms of trading, the company is the third most traded on stock at the Uganda Stock Exchange in the past 3 months. And we are talking a volume of about 9.09 million shares valued at over 1.73 billion shillings within 3 months. Now, MTN still comes very close to Umeme when it comes to turnover because they almost have a similar price range. Umeme at 200 shillings and MTN at 180 shillings. And according still to the report we received from USE for the third quarter earnings, Umeme was followed closely by MTN in as regards turnover or big transactions on the stock exchange in the last 3 months. And this is evident because having over 1.73 billion Ugandan shillings over the period, that's something really for MTN Uganda. A volume high of just 2.28 million shares in the period was achieved on the 22nd of August within the same period. And currently, MTN still maintains its position as the third most traded on the Uganda Stock Exchange, coming after Stanbic Bank and MTN Uganda and brother Umeme Limited. Looking at their 4-week performance, they're still on a loss of 1.64%, and in terms of 3 months, they have lost about 2.71%, and in 6 months, they have lost 3.75% of their price valuation on the Uganda Securities Exchange. And that's MTN Uganda for you there, giving you a chance also to participate in the markets there at the Uganda Stock Exchange. Other participants, of course, we had Uganda Clays. After some time of silence, Uganda Clays also returned with a volume of over 100,093 shares. Looking into Umeme, rather Uganda Clays stock, there was no change in price. The price was maintained at 15.0 shillings and over 1.5 million was transacted in terms of the turnover for the day. And the shares outstanding maintained at 900 million and bringing their market capitalization close to 13.5 billion Ugandan shillings, making them the 15th most valuable company on the Uganda Stock Exchange. Looking at the activity of Uganda Clays, currently Uganda Clays is the 5th most traded on stock. And by the way, notably, I have to mention that Uganda Clays is the oldest listing in terms of the equity market on the Uganda Securities Exchange. It listed on the 18th of January in the year 2000 and currently holds just over about 0.064% of the entire Uganda Stock Exchange. There was a time when really Uganda Clays had a big share of the market. Of course, things have changed with new listings and different market players, but still we give it credit for the fact that it's the oldest company on the exchange and also still maintaining its performance, maintaining the issuance of dividends, to their shareholders, and also the company maintaining its profit margin for several years as well on the market. Looking at the volumes, they have had a total volume of about 3.79 million shares in the last 3 months, dating way back from the 19th of August to the 17th of November 2022. And on average, they trade about 60,236 traded shares per session, and a volume high of 1.46 million was realized in the third quarter. That was on the 19th of September 2022. That is Uganda Clays Limited for you there at the Uganda Stock Exchange. And in summary, let's look at the summary figures here on the Uganda Stock Exchange. We had about, a market capitalization of 21.1 trillion maintained on the exchange. And on aggregate, the all-share index increased by 12.44 points And now we are registering a 4-week gain, a 1-week gain of 2.04%, and still on a 4-week loss of 1.97% on the all-share index, and an overall year-to-date loss of 13.44% that has been registered on the index. Now, the local company index, which tracks the aggregate performance of local companies here at the exchange, increased and reached about 268 points for the 4th day of trading, representing a 1-week gain of 0.73% and a 4-week loss of 1.13% on the market. And that's it from the Uganda Securities Exchange. But before we go any further, there was a report that came out from the USE about the 3rd quarter earnings, and I would want to share some of the results here with us on the show, so we can know the side of the Uganda Securities Exchange and Capital Markets Authority in terms of trading. Now, the report says that Umeme and MTN dominated the trading of the Uganda Securities Exchange in the year 2022 3rd quarter, now accounting for more than 60% of the activity of the Uganda Securities Exchange. The companies all registered the biggest turnovers on the market. During this period also, according to the data from the Uganda Securities Exchange, the equity market activity increased with the total turnover growing by over 2 billion Ugandan shillings. The growth, which saw the turnover increase to over 9.2 billion Ugandan shillings compared to the 7.2 billion shillings last year, indicates a steady pickup on the market activities despite the difficult economic conditions, the report continues to say. Now, other active counters included Bank of Baroda, Stanbic Bank Uganda, Uganda Clays, as well as Centum, among others. Higher turnover in equity markets reflects better liquidity and eases sale of stocks. And I think this is what I've shared on the show. When there's activity, no matter how bad the market really is, you will still have better liquidity, because you always find people willing to buy and you will find people willing to sell, because there is activity. And this is exactly what every exchange is looking for, activity. And the report continues to say that this better liquidity eases the sale of stocks, and this is due to the high turnover that was registered on the markets in the last quarter. Now, however, on the flip side, the quarter-to-quarter basis data indicates that the turnover of the 3rd quarter was lower by over 13.4 billion shillings posted in the year 2022 2nd quarter. Now, Mr. Andrew Mwima, we've had Mr. Andrew here on the show before, who is the USE Manager of Trading and Research, said in terms of quarterly turnover performance per counter, the USE turnover was released on over 10 counters, that is Bank of Baroda, Stanbic Bank, Uganda Clay, Centum, among others. Umeme posted the largest turnover, valued at 2.8 billion shillings, accounting for over 30.6%. Like I said, Umeme took the biggest share for the day, and this was from of the 9.2 billion Ugandan shillings turnover that was registered in the last 3 months. Umeme was followed by MTN. MTN with the biggest percentage, with the second biggest percentage, very close to that of Umeme at 30.04%, while Bank of Baroda and Stanbic took on 29.7%. In terms of volumes, however, the report says that Stanbic took the biggest share of 34.4 million shares, which represented 33% of the entire stock exchange shares that were transacted, as well as Bank of Baroda following in the second position at 31% of the total amount of shares there. And the report continues. I wouldn't want to go into the details, but this is just a picture of really what took place in the 3rd quarter. We'll continue to look into the fourth quarter and get to see what we should expect out of the last quarter of the year. As we enter a new year, we should be really moving into stronger and better markets for the new year. Now, let's get to Nairobi very quickly and have a look at what's happening at the Nairobi Stock Exchange. Now, the Nairobi Stock Exchange registered a decline in performance, notably by the all-share index. The all-share index shed off over about 0.24 points, and this was about let's see, what percentage did we have here? We had about 0.19% that was shed off the Nairobi Securities Exchange, closing the day at 128.77 points. Now, the day, of course, ended with a weekly gain still on the all-share index of 0.02% and a 4-week loss of 0.79%, but an overall year-to-date loss of 22.64% that was registered on the market. In as regards participation, the number of companies was stagnant at 47 companies, just like the day before, participating in trading. However, the day ended with just 13 gainers and over 22 losers. Home Africa was the biggest gainer for the day, and Home Africa gained by about 2.78%, closing the day with a price of 0.37 Kenyan shillings per share. Stanbic Holdings followed very closely at 2.31%, as well as Olympia Capital Holdings gaining the 4th day in a row at a 2.21% gain on the market. Samia Africa also gained finally at 1.92%. It wasn't a good week for Samia Africa at the Nairobi Stock Exchange, but at least coming to the 4th day of trading, they came out as one of the top gainers at a 1.92% gain, which was a pretty good outlook for the company. On the losing side, we had BOC Kenya, who came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 10% at exactly 72.0 Kenyan shillings closing price per share. We also had Williamson Tea Kenya at 9.27% loss and Captura Tea Company at 8.7% loss. NCBA Group also lost about 4.6% of their price on the 4th day of trading. Safaricom came out with the biggest volume at exactly, about 5.79 million shares, followed very closely by Cooperative Bank of Kenya at 1.24 million shares, and Kenya Power and Lighting Company at 421,000, and Equity Group Holdings at 402,400 shares on the market in Kenya. Let's get to look at Home Africa and see what they do have for us. Home Africa is a publicly traded property dealer or developer, and currently is the only property developer that is listed on the Nairobi Stock Exchange and has different homes constructed in Tanzania, Kenya, Rwanda, and so many other places, Angola, Zimbabwe, Nigeria, and Ghana, and they deal in home properties or home construction. The new markets will be covered, of course, with regional offices. They do have regional offices in Nairobi, Johannesburg, and Abuja as well. Currently, the market value for the company on the Nairobi Stock Exchange stands at a 150 million Kenyan shillings market capitalization, representing about 0.0075% of the entire Nairobi market there. And yesterday they gained about 0.01 Kenyan shillings to close at 0.37 Kenyan shillings. It's one of those very affordable stocks you can get on the Nairobi Stock Exchange. But remember, I warn you of volatility. When you're investing in small companies or small caps, there is an issue of volatility, and so you must be ready for that. They do have share prices going up and above the roof, and also sometimes going below even the basic price. So that is one thing you have to watch out for. But at least they do give you opportunity for investing with the little money you have And this means that you don't have to be a rich person to really get to invest in the exchange. You can invest with as little as 0.37 shillings on the Nairobi market here, according to this company. That's it from the Nairobi Stock Exchange. The day saw a 75% decline in volume and a 67% decline in the turnover, and 8% decline in the deals that were registered on the day. The market capitalization at Nairobi remained above 2 trillion shillings. That's it from the Nairobi Stock Exchange. Allow me, because time is not on our side, to get into the US market currently and have a look at what happened yesterday and what we should be looking out for this last day of trading on the US market. Now, the US stocks faltered Thursday morning as optimism around the easing inflation and a Federal Reserve policy shift waned, while the Wall Street passed through a motley of corporate earnings for the day. The S&P 500 feature or index, which tracks the top 500 American companies, sank a little bit by about 1.1%, whereas the Dow Jones Industrial Average, tracking the top 30 stocks on the US market, shed off about 260 points, closing, or rather 0.8% of their value there. The technology-focused Nasdaq Composite had about 1.4% loss on the market. There's still a lot of speculation around the Federal Reserve Bank rate and also inflation data from the United States. That, of course, is kind of making the US markets volatile, and also the cryptocurrency firm FTX that collapsed is also kind of influencing also on the technology stocks. Remember, the tech stocks are going through some difficult time, especially in as regards employment. Many people have been fired, especially at Twitter after Elon Musk took over the company, and several other tech companies also like Facebook looking to cut employment, and already some have done so. So it's a tough one for the tech stocks there at the United States Stock Exchange. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it for the day. That's it, what we had for you, and you can keep updated on the stocks by watching Smart24 TV. We do have those prices moving across the screen, and you can always keep track and get to know what's happening and the latest news as well. I'll catch you same time, same place tomorrow. Rather see you probably next week on Monday. And of course, this being a Friday, the markets are getting closed off. Make sure you close strong, get to see which stocks are doing well, and plan for next week. Catch you next time. Bye for now.
Smart24, driving business.